Okay, the reality, I don't know much more than I knew the last time I've probably spoken to you, right? I mean, there does come a point where you have to go play the game. And all the hypotheticals, all the driving home on I-25 at night, picturing what our team is going to look like, waking up in the middle of the night, how's this young guy going to respond? We're about to find out. We're about to find out. And that's what this is. That's what this is. Everybody, we say every year, high school football has scrimmages. NFL has preseason games. We go out there in college football and just put it down and find out what happens to a large degree, particularly when you're an inexperienced team. But with that also comes a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation. Appreciate this morning, Harold Medina, second in command at ABD, a deputy chief of police, came out and spoke to our team. Appreciate it. 10 o'clock this morning, the mayor, Tim Keller, came out, and we had some fun. A lot of people don't realize Tim Keller was at Notre Dame when I was at Notre Dame. His senior year was 2000. My last year there was 2001. He was a quarterback at St. Pius here in Albuquerque. I went to Notre Dame and played for Flanner Hall. They play inter-hall tackle football. His team actually won the championship in 2000, which is a huge deal. He came out this morning, and he's always kind of told me how athletic he is. In fact, I had coaching the House Senate basketball game. He played in the House Senate basketball game several times, so I've seen him on the basketball court. But he came out today. We let him throw the ball around. It's here, right? It's here for players, for coaches, and for fans to see just what we're going to look like. I don't think I need to tell you about Sam Houston State, right? I know a lot about Sam Houston. Obviously, my 9 years at Texas A&M, 30 miles down the road, Huntsville. We have several players from Huntsville here. The last time they were in Albuquerque, as you all know, was 2011. I became the head coach in 2012. They beat UNM 48-45. We came back after that, I guess, and rescheduled them to another opportunity to come to Albuquerque. I'm not sure that was a great decision after they beat you once to invite them back. But they're a tradition-rich program. I think they've had 9 straight winning seasons. They've been to, 6 of the last 7 years have been deep into the FCS playoffs, I believe. Tradition of winning, without any doubt. More experienced team than we are. I've been really impressed. First of all, they got a great coach that's won everywhere he's been. Had a lot of success on the East Coast. Then comes to Huntsville, Texas. They've got a really good offensive coordinator who was at New Hampshire. Any of you follow football on the East Coast, New Hampshire, Chip Kelly, offensive prowess. So they're a good football program with a good coaching staff. Offensively, really impressed with the quarterback, number 11, young guy from College Station, Texas, was actually injured in high school for his junior and senior year. Came on last year really as a redshirt freshman. They started out the season with number 10. Quickly by the third game, number 11, who's coming in here as a starter, was the starter. They have had competition at quarterback. Number 3 is a young guy from the Houston area. His dad was a longtime high school coach. He's probably a little bit more of the runner. I expect both of them will play. Number 26, the tailback's outstanding. Had a great breakout season last year. I think close to 1,000 yards. A little quick guy, explosive. Number 81, the wide receiver, as good as probably any will play this year. And then their tight end, number 85, is a big guy. Defensively, they have 9 starters back. I think last year was their best statistically in a long time, and that says a lot. So they're experienced. They absolutely come in here expecting to win, as do we. The fact that they're more experienced than us doesn't necessarily mean they're more prepared than us. We're just playing with some guys that quite honestly haven't been out there as much. But we've got no excuses at all. You know, we've had good work, scrimmaged more this camp than any camp I've been involved with. You know, we had 3 80-play scrimmages, kind of an impromptu 40-play scrimmage. You know, I told Urlacher that the other day when he was in, and that even surprised him. We've been relatively healthy, no catastrophic injuries. We've had no off-the-field issues. We've had no they've done everything we've asked. So let's put the ball down and you know, let's find out. 4 o'clock game, obviously it's going to be hot. They come from a place where they're used to it being hot. We've practiced every day in it. So it's kind of a wash when it comes to that. So we're all anxious to get this started. Nobody's more anxious than I am. Again, no matter how many times you've done this, that first game is such a unique experience, just unique. Steve, you want to start this off?
Sure. You know, obviously the goal is to win this game, but what are some of the other goals you have if you want to come out of this game?
Yeah, I think, you know, we've got so many young players, and you know, I don't mean to just kind of mindlessly say that. You know, I mean that sincerely. We do. Just look at the roster. I think it's about development, quite honestly. You know, it's okay, regardless of what happens, there will be an open date, which is almost like another camp to us. That's 2 weeks, right, before we play the next game. We've got several guys that probably won't start the game that, you know, with a little more development will be in positions to start the next game. So I think it's just consistent improvement. And to improve, you have to get that baseline of exactly where you are. And this is a test for us to just see where we are, and specifically certain guys where they are, and then you know, be in a position to develop this team throughout the season. You know, so that's absolutely what it is. You know, in the first game, you always look to play clean. You hope that all this preparation you've done, all this talk about mental toughness as you're prepared for the things that happen in the first game. So just a bunch of guys that enjoy football. Probably a lot of guys are going to play in this game. And just the mental toughness to kind of keep playing and keep persevering. And that's really the reason, you know, I asked Brian Urlacher to come in, quite honestly, was get up here and tell these kids how the guys you respect are guys that are mentally tough. Not just physically tough, but mentally tough. And look back at all the teammates you've played with in your whole career back to New Mexico, and who are the guys you really remember. And that's those mentally tough guys that love football. So kind of rambled there. I'm just anxious to see a lot of young guys. We've got 2 new coordinators, one on offense, one on defense. We've got some tweaks in scheme just to see, and hopefully all the hard work pays off for guys that have given a lot, both players and coaches. You know, hopefully have some success and try to get some momentum.
Coach, you talked about how you scrimmaged for it ever since you've been here. Have you seen direct results from that, and what do you think of those results as you get ready?
Well, the direct results are we stayed healthy. You know, to be able to do that shows that guys really did work truly in the off season because they went out there and did it, and they were able to have some endurance and stayed healthy. So that's the direct result we saw. You know, anytime you practice so much against yourself, you get into such a comfort level of rhythm, right? I mean, the offense may do something a little bit different. The defense might do something a little bit different. But there's such a rhythm of familiarity. You know, what happens in the game, right? You know, that Mike Tyson thing of everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You know, so, yeah, I mean, we obviously feel good about it. But I know right now Sam Houston feels good about it, right? Because we've controlled the environment up to now. We have controlled everything that's happened. We've put the ball down in scrimmage, but we haven't controlled, you know, Sam Houston will come in here and control and do the things they want to do and see how we react. So far, so good. Stood up here last year and probably said so far, so good and felt good about it. That's why we go play these games.
Coach, you shared with us as you open up today, you drive home late at night, imagine
You're going right for that heart, aren't you, man? You're taking me. I'm picturing this driving down I-25 now. I'm getting into the mood, yeah.
I can see the visuals. It was not your private. Can you share with us that
Wow, man, like you want to take all these people's time and go back through that? You want me to start back to 2011 before I can? No. You know, in a nutshell, okay, I'm very proud of what we've done here. Very proud that we got it to a point where we did what we did in 16 and 17, right? We overcame a lot of things and got it to where it was in 16, 17. The last 2 years, it's dropped off. Can we get it back? You know, can we get it back? That's what this is. You know, there's a lot of personal pride involved in this. You know, there's a lot of work that's been put into this. Can we get this back to where it was? Can we get this back to where it was, right? We've got some unique challenges. All that's great. All that's good. We've heard all that. Now, can we just go coach our butt off and get this thing back? That's simply what this is.
Coach, you talked about each first game being like a unique experience. What is it like for you the night before when you was tossing and turning, or what?
Not really. You know, I mean, you know, you can only do what you can do and you prepare so much. And then it's time to really enjoy it. It's time to enjoy it. And that's one thing I learned at ESPN that I was quite honestly shocked by in a certain degree of, you know, being out there on that field with a head coach. And some of the atmosphere is unbelievable, right? And truthfully, the head coach dreading the game. Like the fear of failure, the fear of negativity, the whatever it was. I mean, I was shocked sometimes that there were some high-profile coaches that when it came time to do what you do, watch those kids play and enjoy it, literally dreaded it, and just wanted to get the game over with. I'm not that. You know, I'm really looking forward to just seeing kids play and coaches coach, and whatever happens will happen and we'll deal with it, but I'm not going into it like, oh, God, this is so much pressure, this is so much this. You know, I'm going in it to try to enjoy it because this is a tremendous process and this is a great game. And to not be able to enjoy these games, what are you doing this for? And I hope that makes sense to you, but you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how guys making a lot of money don't enjoy what this is. And I damn sure do enjoy these games. I damn sure do, because we put so much into getting a chance to see these kids go do what they do. Yeah.
Coach, you asked whether or not you guys can get it back, but is it as simple as completing a third down pass at Colorado State or making a special teams play in a game, or is it more complicated? Is it the mood in the locker room? Is it X's or O's?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? You know, we beat Vegas last year in Vegas. Okay, what if we would have beaten Liberty the week before? We'd have been off to a great start, right? But we go to Vegas, we beat Vegas. Then we go to Colorado State. We have a chance to beat Colorado State right there at the end. They kicked that last-second field goal. Just the momentum that you gain from that, the momentum you gain from that, no one will ever know, right? I mean, we're so close to so many other teams starting this week. There's such a fine line, right? There's nobody we're going to go out there and just out-talent and just win the game by playing ugly. There's such a fine line between us and these other teams. Make no mistake, in 17, we were fortunate. We had some good fortune, and we had some momentum that carried us in those close games. Well, the last 2 years haven't been quite as bad as they look from the standpoint of 3-9, 3-9. There were some games in there we could have won and been 6-6 and been in bowl game conversation. So, you know, again, that's how I look at this. You know, it's never as good as it looks, and it's never bad as it looks. You know, there is the reality. And momentum of this game and confidence, you know, that 12-man is momentum. But you got to go play good, and you got to go do what you can do to get the momentum. So, yeah, now all of a sudden we're younger. We're much younger than we've been. But maybe that's really a good thing. You know, maybe that's really a good thing. So we'll kind of see.
Coach, certainly the game flow, especially, you know, the offensive game flow will dictate a lot of it, but what can you at least share as far as the plan that you have in your head, or at least how you even envision it in an ideal world going in your head as far as the quarterback?
Well, you know, I think, again, it has been complicated because of Tavaka in that situation. You know, he's been out there probably 5 practices, maybe 6 practices total. 6 practices total. That has complicated things, make no doubt about that. And just the mental strain that he's been through, all of that. The logistics of getting back and forth to California. We have 3 other quarterbacks that, honestly, I am comfortable with any one of those 3. And that's a strong statement, you know, but these kids have had so many reps. I mean, Sherrion Jones from last year, Trey Hall from last year. Brant Hughes, the guy that's been around football his whole life. You know, his dad played quarterback at Wyoming. We've got 3 other guys. But I'm not sure it will look Saturday exactly like we pictured it would look if it was Tavaka and those other guys were getting the reps and what they do. It's still not exactly the way we would want it to look because Tavaka is a unique guy. Now, how much he's ready to play this week, if he plays this week, how much we play the other 3 guys, it's still somewhat of a work in progress, you know. And so to say it's absolutely percentage-wise exactly how we envisioned it after spring football, well, all of a sudden there was a sudden change because your starting quarterback is faced with something nobody anticipated.
Jeff, about kind of off the game week, kind of at 2 29-year-old top of kind of their game NFL players this week retired because of pain and injury.
Yeah.
Gronkowski didn't retire this week, but this morning he was on giving a speech about it and broke down in tears. And for Gronk to do that, it's pretty serious stuff. I'm curious from your position as a leader of a whole bunch of young men who probably are at an age that they don't want to come and talk about pain and stuff like that, how you approach what this game, how violent this game has become, and
Yeah.
sometimes they don't want to talk about it. Is there anything different today than even when you took over here or when you coached before?
You know, I mean, I'm a father, and my son played football. You know, he walked on at Arizona State, made the travel squad. I really do try to approach this like it's my wife and I talking late at night about our son. And there's no question, these kids, by playing this game, are asked and do some uncommon things. They do some uncommon things. And I feel a total responsibility for that. I mean, like the drills we do, you know, how we used to start practice with kind of the motivation, 2 guys lined up against each other and just go after each other. We've curtailed that. Yeah, it's a real issue. And one of the issues, take the physical part away. Just take the whole physical thing away. And I think this really applies to all athletics. You know, we're in an era, and I was thinking about this the other day. Just take the online class phenomenon. 60% of our classes of our players right now are online. So just from the standpoint of whether you call it conflict resolutions, dealing with expectations, we bring them in here and they meet for an hour and a half. Some of these kids have never had experience of sitting in one place for an hour and a half. Then all of a sudden, there's competition. There's a starter. Somebody wins the job, somebody's the backup. They have to call home. Then there's a scoreboard. Bottom line, kids are not put in as many positions as they were when we grew up of having to deal with direct conflict. Just take online class. I'm a big proponent, right? It's a great concept, but there's not a teacher there saying, listen, sit up, or saying, you shouldn't wear that today, or I'm going to call on you randomly, and you're going to have to answer a question where you might get embarrassed in front of your peers because you're not prepared, or you have to be here every day at 7:59, and if you walk in late, your grade's going to suffer. We have grown up now, these players have grown up in an era where there's less of that. And quite honestly, there's other options probably more now than there were. So I think this game has changed so much. I mean, not just the physical part. We all get what that is. Obviously, we've changed on how we practice our techniques, equipment, time we spend on the field, all that. But as big a piece of that is players being able to handle the stress mentally of being put in positions where there's a winner and a loser, and there's expectations every day, right? It's a lot easier to text, particularly something that's somewhat confrontational, that is for you and I to sit here and have a confrontational conversation. Let's just keep going right down that list of things that have changed. So from a mental standpoint, that's the greatest piece of this game. That's the greatest piece of this game that prepares these kids for life. But how do you prepare them for that with them not melting down as you go through that process? It has to be hard. But all your methods have to be different now to achieve that. You know, and I'll just finish with this. I don't mean to get off on a rant, but this is a huge thing of what we do. How do you make mental toughness your advantage? Okay, we're at a place where we're not going to just have better players. How do we use mental toughness? Or in our team, any team, mental toughness is our advantage. Well, you have to make it mentally tough to develop that mental toughness. And that piece of it, to me, Jeff, is bigger than the physical piece, because they are asked to do things where there's less and less people asked to do those things that cause conflict or are difficult to overcome. That's been the biggest piece of this. So I hope I answered that. I hope I didn't go too long, but it's the mental piece of that.
Follow-up to Jeff's question. If a young player, or hypothetically, you had a relationship with somebody like Andrew Luck or Ron, and they called you up and said, Coach, I don't think I can do this anymore. What advice or what questions would you ask?
Yeah, I think the best way for me to answer that is Frank can get Garrett Adcock's phone number. And rather than me, no, I'm being dead honest now, I'm not laughing. I mean, I'm saying rather than me stand up here and say, here's how I would handle it, I think we should call Garrett Adcock and say, how did Coach handle it?
Right.
I had a young guy here, Garrett Adcock, that was a fifth-year offensive lineman that was very important to our football team. And I'll let him tell you the story of why he retired from football his last year. And if he wants to share my conversations with him, I'd be, so I mean, I think that's a great story. That's how I handle things. And Garrett Adcock would be able to tell you exactly how I handled it. And I'll let him volunteer how that went. But absolutely, absolutely, I look at each situation and say, listen, at the end of the day, is this really worth it? Is this really worth it for you? It's a great game. You learn great lessons. But at some point, you're getting more harm than good out of this. What are we doing? I had the chief of police, the deputy chief of police in there today at 7:30 talking to our team about off-field issues today. Steve was in there. Steve's doing a story on Alex Hart. I mean, we just don't talk the talk now of doing right by these kids. We live it every single day. So that's a good conversation right there.
Quick follow-up. What would you say to the other players, fans, that are booing or criticizing somebody for walking away from the game when it was the right thing for them to do?
You know, I think, again, the fan doesn't know the whole story, right? It's not fair. I mean, I'm never going to criticize a fan because bits and pieces of information are so dangerous. I've had it happen to me, right? I mean, somebody gets bits and pieces of some information and they're just adamant about they know the story. I hold judgment until somebody really knows, and I imagine those people that were booing in a much calmer situation, fully educated, there's nobody booing Andrew Luck now once they know the whole story. I knew his dad, Oliver Luck, when I coached at Pittsburgh, West Virginia, you know. So again, I get that, and I'm not too quick to judge people. I do try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but these bits and pieces of information, they hurt people's lives and careers, you know.
Let's finish up with a man.
Henry, see what you started, man? You get right to, I love it, man. Huh? We're not talking about like 11 personnel or they're going to throw the deep ball on these young corners. We go right to the heart, man. I love this. What we got? He's doing good. You know, he had a little back spasm problem. He actually got in that weight room about a week and a half ago and tried to do some squats, and he kind of shouldn't have done some squats and had a back spasm. He's back 100% healthy. You know, again, our punter and our kicker are two guys that I think, a year ago we didn't know who our punter and kicker were. All of a sudden they're like the gray beard experienced guys on our team. Anybody else?
Coach,
I've thought about that. You know, that's a great question. I will always side with who has the most experience, though. In other words, I've watched number 11, their quarterback, through an entire season, 26, their tailback, 81, their wide receiver, 85, their tight end. They are so much more experienced. There is an element of unknown with us from a preparation standpoint. But, Lee, you know this better than anybody. This game always comes back to players against players. And I think they have an advantage because their players have done this more with that light on than our players. But it is an interesting concept or conversation of, does the newness, freshness, unknown give you an advantage over what you've seen on tape? I always go, though, with the experience, and I think for that reason they have an advantage, particularly at those skill positions.
Let's get Steve right here.
Well, we saw a video of some of the players dancing with the kids the other day. I mean, is it too corny to say that this is a fun team, or you're...
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, you know, and you know, a lot of teams can be fun, but it's kind of see-through-ish or flimsy because they haven't done the work. You know, you can make it fun. Hell, I can make it fun every day, but you haven't made the kind of investment to make it truly fun, right? This is a fun team that has worked hard. I would say that, you know. But one thing, even last year and the year before, they were pretty fun too. So, you know, but this is a fun team. It's really a good group of guys. They have worked hard. They do enjoy each other, and they've enjoyed this process. And let's go see if we can, you know, win a damn game.
Last word.
Coach, I just had a question. You mentioned something about, after the first game that you're gonna probably find some new people coming in and coming out. Is that more like defensive backs? You
Yeah.
got all new guys, running backs, kind of new guys. Is that the two places where you're gonna be probably doing what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think particularly at defensive back. You know, we have some really talented guys and younger as far as being here at UNM, junior college guys. It's just that first game, are they really ready to go out there in that first game? So I think defensive back would particularly be a position where there could be some movement. Quarterback, you know, what's going to happen at quarterback, right? And running back would be that, but probably defensive back would be number one as far as that, as far as guys kind of stacked that maybe aren't as experienced, but have some pretty good potential.
All right.
We good, man? All right, guys, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.